The corner, the corner, the corner. Hey, welcome. Come on into Cousin Ed's Corner. This podcast is where you'll find real, authentic conversation, organic conversation, unscripted, unfiltered conversation, like your own with your cousin. It's all about life. It's about finance. It's about spirituality. It's about love and everything in between. I'm your host, Cousin Ed. I'm excited to bring you along on this journey. So sit back and listen in as we dive into a wide range of topics. I have some diverse guests coming on with an array of thoughts and opinions. My goal is to create a space all for us to connect and communicate. It's not really about me. It's about the community as a whole. Let's enjoy it. Let's sit back. Let's think about our past. Let's move into our future. It's about the corner, the corner, the corner. So no matter how you cut it or slice it, we're all here together. I'm just here to give you a piece of my heart, my mind, my soul, and my mentals. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Cousin Ed's Corner. The corner, the corner, the corner. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. What's going on, fam? What's going on, fam? It's your boy, Cousin Ed. And yes, indeed, we are back. We're back with another one. This is Cousin Ed's Corner, and we are honored today for another episode of When My Sister Wins, We All Win. And this queen today, this sister today, I had the pleasure of seeing and hearing her on another podcast, on actually her podcast. And she interviewed a friend of the show. And I was like, man, she's super dope. I'd like to have her on the show one day. And fortunately, we able to link up and have her on the show. So I am, I'm beaming with joy. If you can see my face right now, I'm beaming with joy. We able to link up and have Dayna Blackburn on the show. Thank you very much for coming on, Dayna.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. As I said, I did see the interview with one of the other sisters that we love on the show. She's special to the show because she was one of the first to ever come on. I want to say her real name, but I'm trying to hold back. But Lisa Marie, Season Dialogue. Thank you very much for having her introduce us to you and you having her on your show. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and leading up to your podcasting and your interviewing her, and what are you doing today?
So I actually, she and I kind of met through someone else, Dash Hudson, who kind of connected us. And she's someone whose content I really, really love. And I felt like there was so much that we had in common in terms of the things that she would talk about. And so I asked her if she wanted to collaborate, and she so graciously did. And it turned out to be an amazing conversation. But really how I got here is just being in a period of my life where I felt like a cycle or a chapter was closing. And I didn't know what was next, but I just knew that there was a change, there was a shift coming. And I'm a Pisces, so we move through life with like our little antennas, like our feelings, right? And we know things and we can't quite explain it, but it was really scary because, I was in corporate America. I'd been in corporate America for about 17 years, and I went from having a career that I really enjoyed to questioning everything and wondering if this is really what I was here to do. Mm-hmm. And that was scary. And so I tapped in I strengthened my connection with God, and I just allowed myself to be led. And it led me to through this beautiful transformation, which landed me in a position to be able to help others as they go through theirs.
One thing, you may have seen me looking over here, I was trying to figure out, and you said awakening, right? And it made me think of the matrix that we all live in. And I was looking, I want to make sure I said the right thing, was a red or blue pill that you find. I mean, you had an awakening and you realized that we are living in this matrix. And one thing that I saw that you talked about was just the blueprint for inspiration and the blueprint for healing, and just trying to find that. One other thing you mentioned this now was spirituality. So a lot of people get that mixed up and not understand that God is the ultimate spirit that's within us, and you have to search and search and I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but go for go to gain he, right? Yearn he. There you go. Yearn is the word I'm looking for. Yearn he, and knowing that within say yourself. So how did that come about? Where you said you had a transition. What was the transition?
So it really happened it started during the pandemic, and
A lot of people,
right? And I had this feeling, I saw some things happening within my career and within the corporate world that I couldn't reconcile with. We were in a pandemic, and I felt like all the rules, they change, right? We've never had to navigate a situation like this before. And so it's not business as usual. And I felt like, especially working for such a large corporation, that there was just this balance that was really hard to hold. And in that, I just found that, some people kind of just lost their humanity.
That is so true.
As I'm going home and I'm watching the TV, and there's thousands of people dying every day, right? We hadn't even hit the million people point yet, but I'm like, do we not see what's happening out there? It just didn't make sense to me. I couldn't reconcile it. And I realized that I didn't think that I could work in an environment where the value on a human life and what was happening outside wasn't like at the forefront of people's minds. And again, I couldn't reconcile with it because it is also a business, right? It's also how I'm going to work and getting paid. And I don't blame anyone. I don't make anyone wrong, but I know that I personally had a really hard time with that. And so I had to ask myself, can I see myself working in this environment for, the next 25, 30 years? I was 35 at the time. And right away, I was like, I don't think so. And then if I don't think so, oh my God, what's next? What do I do? And so I felt lost. And that's kind of how I had to really just let go of everything I thought I knew and just really kind of call on God and get reconnected.
So that pivoting time, I just did a show last week about pivoting. That pivoting time is sometime when you're at your lowest, sometime when you're in that valley and you have to go and seek He. When you went through that, how was that transition? Now, did you decide to be a coach? Did you decide to go counseling? How did you come to this point right now?
So I was actually on maternity leave not too long after that. And I was extremely stressed out because I had to make a choice. Was I going to go back, or was I going to go do something else? And so I went on a meditation retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And on day 2 of the retreat, I went to yoga. And at the end of yoga, as everyone was in rest pose, I had my eyes closed and I was just laying there. And I made this, deal with God. Like, God, by the time I get back on the plane and get back to New Jersey, I need to know what's happening. I need to know what you want me to do. And I was in yoga and I just remembered my eyes closed and I'm just seeing lots of flashing and it's just lots of lights. And it was the weirdest thing because these lights looked like flickering like letters and numbers. And it was the strangest thing. And it scared me. I was really scared, but quiet because I didn't want to freak the rest of the class out. But I, written down what I saw. It was strange. And after talking to a lot of people at that retreat, I decided that maybe coaching was something that I wanted to try my hand in. And so when I got back, I signed up. I got my credentials to log into the portal for the class. And as I went to go put in the system generated password that they gave me, I looked at the sequence of numbers and letters.
No, it wasn't.
I was like, no.
No, it wasn't.
I was like, no. And I ran to get this notebook and I flipped it open and I just lost it. I lost it. It was the same sequence of letters and numbers I had seen. And it was like, I know I sound crazy when I tell that story, but I knew at that moment, if I had ever had any doubts, which I didn't, but if I had ever had any doubts that there was a God and that my prayers were being answered, it was no more, right? And the second thing was I knew in that moment that I was led to exactly where I was supposed to be. And every door has opened up for me since then. So it's really the power of faith and really just tapping in and being connected.
Can't say I have a sweater on, but I have goosebumps right now because the last couple of shows, the last series, I've been talking about this same thing. And sometimes when you get to your lowest point, it's for you to get closer to Him. Mm-hmm. And when you fast, when you pray, when you search and seek He, all those things will get you closer to Him. And for one time in my life, I can speak on, I found Matthew 6:34. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has enough worries of its own. I was so troubled, so worried, and everything else. And I was, in the book, and I was just reading. And that one word that stuck out. And everything after that day, I mean, you still have worries, right? No matter you're human. But everything after that day, I can always turn back to that passage and understand that tomorrow He's already got it taken care of. Mm-hmm. And He took care of it for you, no matter you. That right there, for you to have that same sequence, the same password, everything that He already planned for you. He just wanted you to get to that point of seeking Him to show you that He was there.
Yep.
Man. So
sometimes we could just remember to do that. We would circumvent all the trouble, right? If we didn't go through half the things we go through, and sometimes we could just remember.
That's the biggest part. Being human and thinking we made it, we did it, we can control it, and ultimately He's in control. If we just let His way happen, we'll get there faster. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's huge. You went, you took the class, you found out that the password was something that He ordained for you to do, that He set forward. What happens next?
So what happened next was I had to figure out like, okay, I understand the fundamentals of coaching, but how do I go and be in service, right? And part of me also was like, well, how did I go from like playing in Excel spreadsheets for 17 years to like coaching?
Mm-hmm.
But I also realized that all that time I was being prepared with the knowledge and the skills to be able to run my own business and to be able to do that, you know? And it happened when I was ready, right? When God thought I was ready, he transitioned me onto the next phase, onto the next chapter. And here's where it's like, where it gets a little strange. I've always like been into like astrology, right? And there were some things that made me very curious and start to look into it a little bit more. And I found that it's almost like I was pretty fluent in it right away. And I would, you know, talk to my family, friends, and they would kind of validate the things that I was seeing. What I noticed was in my own chart, I was seeing patterns that I knew existed in me and lived in me, but either I had been conditioned to believe was not the right way to do things, or maybe a way of being that I was afraid to present to the world. And so how this really happened was I had gotten a reading, and the woman said to me, you know, you're really kind of meant to be seen and heard. And I'm like, how can that be? Because I hate talking, especially public speaking. When my boss would give me presentations, I would want to cry because I hated it. And I'm like, okay, if she's right, I should be able to find this in my chart. And I go look at my chart, and sure enough, bam, my 10th house of career, I have Gemini, which is the literal sign of communication in that house. And so now I'm like freaking out. So I have that, someone who's supposed to talk for a living, afraid to speak. And then I have my family telling me that astrology is wrong. You know, it goes against, you know, God, all this stuff.
Let's stay right there for a second, because I did mention about that. I was going to bring you back, but you brought it up. So I can't speak on it because I don't know much about it. I just know what the sign I was born under. But what you just said, and it's a study, it's a science, it's not a religion, right?
It's definitely not a religion.
Okay. And the way I understand it, this is my own synopsis, example of it. People study blood. I ain't talking about in no wicked way. I'm talking about blood like a, what's that? What do you call it? A phlebobologist? I can't. Y'all gonna.
Phlebotomy?
Phlebotomy, yeah. I know. People study blood, right? People study science is something that you can study, correct? You can do math, and you can study that 10,000 people was born on this time, and this is what they. So, can you explain it a little more for people who think that it is of another kind? Explain it so I can understand it.
Yeah. So it's easier to understand if you. I'm going to start with this. Easier to understand if you understand that everything that exists in this world is energy. Even our own physical bodies, down to, if you look at an atom, there's empty space, there's energy in it, right? And so for me, and astrologers might disagree, astrology is merely the study of patterns of energy associated with these planets. And what happens, what I've studied, and I've seen about 100 charts, right, at this point, is that at the moment of someone's birth, there's a certain configuration, there's a certain layout of planets in the sky. and they create this combination of energy. And at the moment of your birth, you take on this combination of energy as your personality, right? If Mars was in Aries at the time of your birth, I could tell you that you're probably someone who is really adventurous. You probably really like the outdoors. You probably like the gym, right? I can tell you things like that, and you'd probably validate a lot of that. And the reason that we understand these things is because people have been doing it since the dawn of time. They recognize that when planets were in certain places in the sky, there were similarities that people had. And that's why today we can tell someone about their whole self just looking at this snapshot of where the planets were at the time they were born. They're just symbols of energy.
So once again, I get it. I'm just trying to make sure we all get it.
Sure.
So once again, right? At least I think I get it. Let me say that much. So once again, when the moon is closest to the earth, water is going to be pushed, I think, inland. That means talking about science, right? No matter what, everybody's going to push the water.
The moon rolls the tides. Absolutely.
Okay. So you're saying, just like the energy of that, when the earth lines up with another planet and everything else, no matter what you do around that time, if you're born, some things in the atmosphere can change or not predict, but get in the atmosphere for who you are.
At the time of your birth, it will give you a pretty good understanding of who you are. And, there are a lot of people that use astrology to predict things. And the reason that they're able to do that is because we have history. We've seen what's happened before. And when we see those same configurations happen again, we can pretty much predict that something similar, something holding that same energetic vibration can happen again. Now, what I actually use it for is something different. I actually use clients' birth charts to help them understand who they are and to get back to that original authentic energy and personality. Because when we're born, what happens? We have, our conditioning, we have our environment, we have our parents kind of telling us who we need to be and what we need to do. And they're trying to guide us and they're trying to help us, which is understandable. But sometimes we have different missions. Sometimes we're different people. And not being able to live in our true nature, when we go against that, that's what a lot of times creates the disconnection. That's a lot of time what creates the feeling unsettled, the depression, the anxiety, simply not living in our true nature. And so what I do, I help clients understand who they are from the lens of their authentic energy so that they feel they have permission to live as who they are. And it helps them heal.
And if not only live who they are, know who they are and be able to navigate.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you can know who you are, but now you can navigate. Knowing is better than anything else. Now I can navigate and say, I see why these decisions have been made, and I feel the way I feel. I still may choose to do these other things, but now I know why when I do these things, I feel this way.
1,000%. I have looked at my chart many times and been like, oh my God, that's why I do that. That's why this happens to me. There's so many amazing things you can see in someone's chart. You can get an understanding of your life purpose. You can understand what your big life lessons are. If you continue to go through certain things over and over and over again, I guarantee you'll probably see that in your chart. You can see your family, what your friendships are like, what your closest relationships are like, your marriage, all of that stuff is there.
Now, let me ask this question. I'm born, I'm not gonna say my day. I'm just a person. Person's born January 1st, 2001, right? Born in Queens, New York. Another person's born January 1st, 2001, Brooklyn, New York. Should their chart be the same? If it's if it's science, I was trying to understand, should their chart be the same?
No. Because they're likely born at different times.
Same time.
If they were born at the same exact time, they might have similar. Okay. Even seconds, depending on the configuration, it could be off because they're degrees in the chart, right? So there's nobody on this earth, because they go down to seconds. There's no one on this earth that has the same exact birth chart as you.
Okay, so the chart goes down to seconds.
Degrees, minutes, seconds.
Excellent.
You might have very similar personalities. You're born, relatively around the same area at the same time. So all your personal planets will be the same. So your personalities might be very, very similar.
So you just helped me understand a whole lot this evening. And it wasn't even about so for everybody to know, this show is organic. It wasn't even going to go here. But shit. So now I understand why, at least I think I understand why Sagittarius overall may be similar, but still be different, because it still gets down to other degrees.
Yeah, so it's not just that. Sagittarius will generally have the same archetype, personality type, but there's also something called the rising sign, which is different from your sun sign. Your rising sign is probably going to be my first impression of you. I'm a Pisces, but people who don't know me, their first impression of me is always that I'm an earth sign. That's actually part of how I started going down the rabbit hole. I was actually training someone, and she looked at me and she was like, "Are you a Virgo?" And I was like, "No, I'm a Pisces." And she's like, "Check your rising sign." And I'm over here like, oh my gosh, I'm a Virgo rising. So I was like, I don't understand how that works, how she got to that. But a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're Sagittarius, you don't act like one." That's because the impression, the energy that you give off is sometimes different from your sun sign, because your sun sign is the core essential you. It's your essence. And not everyone has access to you at that deep of a level. That makes sense?
I'm feeling real undressed right now, so excuse me. Yes, it makes sense. Listen, we wasn't going here, right? She done came over, and I'm just really feeling, I want to tie this back to people who may hear this show and feel some kind of way about the difference between our spirituality, our God. That's the first thing you mentioned before we even got this far, right? And how they can say we had this conversation and still believe in God, and how we still are spiritual and everything else. So this could be a whole nother show if you want to just, I ain't say quickly, take as long as you need to break down how the two align with each other.
So people ask me this quite often. Yeah, I mean, people ask me this quite often, and here's my response. I see for me, there's one God, there's one source, right? And you get to choose what your connection is like. For people who belong to a religion, for me, it's like a prefix menu, right? You have these options, you have these things, and this is what you have to go with, right? And it's by choice. It's by choice, and there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like spirituality is more like the a la carte menu. I get to take what works and what resonates with me, as opposed to feeling like I have to take everything, like I have to buy into everything. Because I know that if something doesn't resonate, I have the opportunity and the space to ask questions and to get more information. I can still have a relationship with God and still be able to. I'm going to share this with you. I remember when I was hearing, especially a lot from my family, that it was wrong. I actually started to question myself. And it's never my intention to do anything wrong, anything bad, anything evil, or anything like that. And I started praying. And I said, God, and I know at this point, I know He clearly answers my prayers because He's led me here. Mm-hmm. If this is bad, if this is not for me, shut it down. Shut it down. If I need to walk away from this, if this is bad, shut it down. I'm not going to get involved. And not only did He not shut it down, but I figured out how to learn it and then use it to actually help myself heal and transform, and then help others. There's no way, for me personally, there's no way that could be bad or evil if it is changing people's lives for the better. I don't see it. I can't reconcile that. So I think sometimes, and listen, the world's changing, and there are a lot of things that we thought we knew, a lot of structures, a lot of ideologies, a lot of things in place that we thought were it, that we thought we knew, that are breaking down or revealing their cracks. And now's the time to start asking questions, and understanding what really truly resonates and aligns with you. So that's just my stance on it, and I believe everybody has their own path to the truth. If it's religion for you, great. If that's what keeps you centered, if you need structure, and some people do, that's exactly what you should do. But if some people like to have their own relationship with God and it's unique and very different for them, that's great. The connection is still there.
Excellent. I'll say this much for those out there who may question other religions, other beliefs. God is a God of all, right? God doesn't curse anyone who's righteous.
Right.
He doesn't curse anyone who's righteous, who's doing things in the right way for the right reasons. I was able to take theology classes throughout. I went to a private Catholic school and take throughout theology classes and learned what religion means. Is ragi. It means separation. So if you look it up in the Latin, what it means separation. So having religions, having tribes is really separation. But we should seek ye first. I was trying to say seek ye, but it's seek ye first. So if we continue to do that, no matter what religion you are, I think you will find a path towards Him. And sometimes you need to have an understanding of other beliefs, not only religion. I'm not going to say religion, other beliefs, to understand who He really is, because He's not only in America, He's not only in New York, He's not only in Georgia, He's not only in your state, He's not only in this country, He's across the world, He's across seas, He's everywhere. He doesn't just stop at the Baptist church, He doesn't stop at the Pentecostal church, He doesn't stop at the Islamic, it may say Allah. He doesn't stop anywhere. He's all over. So that's just my 2 cents about it. I love the conversation. I had so much to ask you about, to talk about. I'm glad that it went where it went. But I do want to honor your time and ask you to tell the audience, tell the family, I like to say audience, tell the family where they can find you at. What are some of the services that you have? And love to have you back. So just let them know how they can find you. So what are some of the services that you have?
Yeah. So I'm a spiritual wellness coach. And so I help people reconnect back to themselves, understand who they are, and then unpack the healing that needs to follow with that for deep transformation. And so you can find me at blueprintinspiredlife.com or blueprint.inspired on Instagram, TikTok, the Blueprint Inspired Life on YouTube, and the Higher Vibe Society on Patreon.
Very nice. And you are giving them the blueprint back to healing and inspiration and finding their self. So thank you very much. Like I said, I was wanted to go there. I wasn't you took me there early. I appreciate you for coming on. Hopefully you won't mind coming back. I'm not sure, but the brown is under the cabinet. The clear is above. The clear is above. The cups are on the counter. You're always welcome to come at the Cousin Ed's Corner. Family, this show right here, right? Had me some places.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Everyone, please be sure to check her out. No matter what, let's open our hearts and minds and make sure that they're clear, that we understand that there's more to this one building. There's a lot to learn. I'm going to relate it back. This is what Cousin Ed is going to do. I'm related back to my blood type. It's the only way I can relate it, right? You may have other ways to relate it for yourself. Finding out your blood type, you can understand a lot about yourself. You can understand what you can eat, what you can't eat. You can understand certain conditions that you may be predisposed to. I think, this is me talking out loud right now, I think learning more about the time of day you were born, the year you were born, will not hurt you. I'm pretty sure it won't hurt you. It may enlighten you a little bit, but it won't hurt you. There's no magic behind you finding out what was going on the day you was born, because many of us have these little cards that say on these whatever day it was, this was a famous person that was, all this stuff you can find out. There's nothing wrong with research a little more. You may be enlightened.
Ask questions, and I'm here if anyone wants to reach out and ask questions, get more information. I'm always open to have a conversation.
Just reach out. It's your boy, Cousin Ed. We love you over here, Cousin Ed's Corner. Hey, have a great one, family. Love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Peace.
This is Dayna Blackburn of Blueprint Inspired at blueprintinspiredlife.com. And when I'm not busy helping people heal and connect back to their true, authentic selves, I'm listening to Cousin Ed's Corner.
Hey, y'all. Aisha here, founder and CEO of the Sistahs in Business Expo, the country's only multi-city small business expo and community created to celebrate and educate entrepreneurial women of color. Be sure to tune in to the next episode of Cousin Ed's Corner. And remember, when my sister wins, we all win.
This episode of Cousin Ed's Corner was brought to you by the Sistah Shop. Please be sure to visit them at thesistahshop.com. That's THESISTAHSHOP.com. thesistahshop.com. Thank you for listening to Cousin Ed's Corner.